with way over 100 missiles shot in. They didn't shoot one down. The equipment didn't work too well, their equipment, and they didn't shoot one. You know, you heard, oh, they shot 40 down, then they shot 15 down. They watched. Then I called, I said, did they? No, sir. Every single one hit its target.
Leaders in the United States, the United Kingdom and France defend the airstrikes against Syria. Hello, I'm Anand Naidu in Washington, D.C., and this is The Heat. The United States, along with the United Kingdom and France, launched a series of airstrikes against Syria. The missile strikes are a targeted response to a suspected chemical weapons attack on civilians in Douma, a town outside Damascus. The United States and its allies believe the Syrian government orchestrated the attack, but so far, no evidence has been made public to support that claim. So what's next? CGTN's Nathan King joins us now. And Nathan, Monday seemed like the day that the leaders in Britain and in France were defending this attack. What do we know about it?
Well, first of all, I just want to give you some breaking news. The Syrian news agency is saying that there's been some missiles intercepted in and around homes, and that they've mentioned the Sharat air base. If that sounds familiar, that was the target of the 2017 attack by the US with 59 Tomahawk missiles. We don't know whether that's true or not, but I just thought, as we're on the air, I would bring you up to date with that. Back to the international response. You're absolutely right. This was the first chance that Western leaders had to defend the action. Remember, in the UK, the Parliament had not been sitting, so had not been able to vote on whether to allow these strikes. It was rushed through the cabinet. And, you know, Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, as we can see there, basically said, look, this is not about regime change. It's not about intervening in a civil war. This was just a narrow attack to stop and contain the use of chemical weapons. And the opposition leader, Jeremy Corbyn, basically said, well, you should have consulted us, and you're at the whim of the US president, which caused loud house. And, you know, in France, too, the Chamber of Deputies met. They were largely supportive, except a lot of the opposition voices saying, look, we didn't do this for the United Nations Security Council resolution. It's illegal. We should have done that. There have been demonstrations, by the way, in London. There have been demonstrations in Paris and elsewhere. Emmanuel Macron, as we see here, the French president, also saying, look, even though we've been military targeted on ISIL in Syria, the humanitarian suffering because of the alleged chemical attack gives us a wider responsibility to act. And he also talked about how the US is going to stay in, along with others, in Syria to make sure it didn't happen, and also continue fighting ISIL as well. And they're not ruling out acting again without a UN Security Council resolution and without necessarily any independent investigation into what happened if alleged attacks happen again.
On that point, Nathan, the US president here in the United States, Donald Trump, declared, quote unquote, mission accomplished in a tweet on Saturday. Now, how much information has been released about the US mission in Syria, and what will we see, if anything, from the US government in the coming days and weeks?
Yeah, that word, that phrase, mission accomplished, of course, everyone will remember from the banner behind George W. Bush as he declared major combat operations over during the Iraq War. But, of course, major combat operations hadn't even started. Some would argue they haven't even finished yet. So not a great choice of words, although the US President Trump has defended those. But you're absolutely right. You know, the military here, the Pentagon, have been saying, look, they've got evidence that it's not just chlorine potentially in this attack, but also potentially sarin. There has been no evidence presented that. They say they believe, they use words like believe, confident, etc., which means they don't know 100% sure. I mean, we know that the team on the ground from the Office of Prevention of Chemical Weapons, the OPCW, is there now, is expected to inspect the site over the coming days, will take samples. The problem for the West is they say, obviously, the OPCW cannot assign blame. They might be able to say a chemical attack happened, but as you know, Syrian government and Russia, to some extent, have blamed opposition forces if indeed a chemical attack occurred. So basically, the West has said, look, we had to act because even if the OPCW had come to its conclusions, they wouldn't have pointed the finger, and we know better.
Okay, thanks, Nathan. That's CGTN's Nathan King reporting.